Eating again, my daughter-in-law shouted, then slammed the kitchen door right in my face. Until one day, my son saw everything. I'm glad you're here. Stay until the end and tell me from which city you're watching my story. I want to know how far it's reached. I'm Dolores, 58 years old, American. I worked as a garment factory worker for 30 years to raise my son. That afternoon, a light rain fell in Texas. I sat in the taxi, staring out the window, both hands gripping the strap of my purse. The driver stopped in front of a clean, modern, 7-story apartment building. I opened the trunk myself and dragged 2 heavy suitcases onto the sidewalk. My right hand trembled, a lingering effect of the stroke I had last year, so I had to pull the luggage with my left. From the lobby, Adrian came running out with an umbrella in hand, beaming. "Mom, you're here. Let me help you." He snatched up the suitcases and pulled them inside. Janelle, my daughter-in-law, stood under the awning, clutching little Ellie, and gave me a small nod. I smiled back, but her eyes were cold, like she was looking at a stranger. Inside, I took off my shoes and lined them neatly by the door. The apartment was spacious, with polished wood floors and a faint lemony scent coming from a diffuser in the living room corner. Adrian gave me a quick tour, pointing as he spoke. "This is the living room, there's the open kitchen, the kids' room, me and Janelle's room, and that little one's a storage closet." He sounded excited, like he wanted me to see how well he was doing. I asked, "So where's my room, son?" Janelle cut in before he could answer, her voice soft but sharp. "Mom, for now you'll stay in the hallway near the balcony. The spare room's full of stuff. I haven't had time to clear it." Adrian opened his mouth to say something, but Janelle gave him a look. He turned to me, voice low. "Just bear with it for a few days, Mom. I'll figure it out." I nodded. I didn't want to make things harder for him. The hallway had only a fold-out bed, next to a shoe rack. One wall was covered with their wedding photos, all bright smiles. The glass door to the balcony didn't close all the way. Cold air slipped through the crack, and the fan groaned all night. I spread out the sheets, lay down, and tried to get used to the place. At dinner, we all sat around the table eating chicken soup. I scooped mine slowly, my right hand still weak, trembling every time I lifted the spoon. Janelle spoke quietly, but just loud enough. "Mom eats too slow. Sets a bad example for the kids." My face flushed. I tried to explain. "Janelle, I had a stroke, my hand's weak." She curled her lip. "Then you should practice. The doctor said to walk, exercise. You just lie in bed all day." I stayed silent, swallowing spoonfuls of soup as my throat tightened. Ellie, my granddaughter, shared a story from school. "My teacher said my drawing was really good today." Ben, her little brother, jumped in. "I got praise too." "Don't brag, Ellie," Adrian chuckled. "You two are always trying to outdo each other." I just sat there, saying nothing, listening to the kids. After dinner, Janelle handed me a set of bed sheets. "The bed folds up, don't leave it out. The kids run out to the balcony all the time." I nodded and took the sheets back to the hallway. That night, I curled up under the thin blanket, freezing. Dishes clinked in the kitchen. Wind hissed through the glass door crack, keeping me up all night. The next morning, I woke up at 5. Same as always. I tiptoed to the kitchen to boil some water, but Janelle was already there, pulling almond milk from the fridge. She looked at me. "Just leave it, Mom. I'll make coffee with the machine." I backed away, about to leave, when she slammed the fridge door shut with a loud bang. "Don't spill anything. I have work early tomorrow." I nodded and walked back to the hallway, my heart heavy. The kids woke up and rushed into the bathroom. Ben turned on the water first. Ellie screamed, "Ben, I'm supposed to go first." I gently reminded them, "You to take turns. No need to fight." Adrian stepped out and patted both their heads. "It's chaos every morning," he said with a laugh, but I saw Janelle standing behind him, arms crossed, glaring. At breakfast, Janelle handed me a yogurt cup. "This is enough for you, Mom. Light breakfast." I reached for a slice of bread on the table, but Janelle quickly pulled the plate away. "That's for the kids." I stopped, nodded, and ate the yogurt without tasting anything. When Adrian was getting ready to leave for work, I walked him to the door. He paused and slipped some small bills into my hand. "If you need anything, just ask. Mom, don't be shy." I clutched the money and nodded, but said nothing. That afternoon, I called Patty, my old neighbor from the previous building. She asked, "How's the new place, Dolores?" I answered, "It's okay, I guess." She shot back, Don't let people look down on you just 'cause you're old. Hear me. I gave a faint laugh. Yeah, I know. But deep down, I wasn't sure how long I could take it. Around noon, my stomach was growling. I pulled out a large bowl, planning to reheat the leftover chicken soup in the pot. Janelle walked in, hands on hips. You're making lunch, Mom. That's for the kids' dinner. I set the bowl down and mumbled, oh, I forgot. I searched the pantry and grabbed a pack of instant chicken noodles. Janelle let out a sigh, her voice tired. That stuff's full of sodium. Mom, you've got high blood pressure? You didn't know that? I quietly put the noodles away and stepped out onto the balcony, staring down at the busy Texas street, trying to breathe my frustration away. That evening, Adrian got home at 6. I opened the door and smiled. You're home, son. He hugged me and grinned. Yeah, long day, Mom. I'm beat, but Janelle came out of the kitchen and grabbed his arm. Go change first. Don't let the cold air in. I stepped back, tucked myself near the doorway, and said nothing. Dinner was mung bean porridge. I served myself a bowl, but my right hand trembled and the spoon slipped onto the table. Janelle looked over and said immediately, Mom, you put the spoon face down. That spreads germs. I adjusted the spoon and muttered, sorry. Adrian paused, looked at me, then at Janelle, but just kept eating. Janelle grabbed a disinfectant wipe and sprayed the spot where my bowl had been. The sharp smell of alcohol filled the room. I turned away, pretending not to notice. The next morning, I washed some clothes and hung them near the balcony. Janelle rushed out, voice sharp. Mom, don't hang stuff here. The wet clothes make the walls damp. Mold will grow. I nodded quickly. Right, I forgot. I gathered the wet laundry and hung it on a wooden chair in the hallway. Water dripped to the floor, and I wiped it up fast, afraid she'd scold me again. Adrian took Ellie and Ben to school. I picked up the mop and started on the living room floor. My right hand shook. The mop wobbled, splashing water here and there. Janelle walked by and said, Mom, just rest. Don't half clean and leave it for me to redo. I lowered the mop and said softly, I just wanted to help a little. She waved it off. I'll do it. It's faster. I put the mop away and went back to the hallway, lay down on the fold-out bed, and pulled the blanket over my head. From the living room, I heard Janelle on the phone with a friend. I can't take it anymore. My mother-in-law just floats around like a ghost. In this house, she's slow, she's messy. Her voice was full of frustration. I lay still, trying not to hear, but every word cut deep. That evening, Janelle brought out a cold bowl of soup and set it in front of me. Here, Mom, that's all that's left. I looked at the soup and quietly asked, is there a little butter? I'd like to add some. Janelle let out a faint laugh, voice laced with sarcasm. Butter's fat, Mom. You trying to raise your cholesterol? Adrian, sitting beside me, spoke up. Come on, let her have a little if she wants. Janelle turned sharply. You don't know anything. People with health issues have to follow a diet. I lowered my head and ate the cold soup, too afraid to say more. One day, I called Mr. Harold, a former coworker from the garment factory. I told him, Harold, I sleep in the hallway, on a folding bed. It gets freezing with the draft. He blurted out, what? Dolores, how can that be? You helped pay for that place. I sighed. I don't want to make things hard for Adrian. Harold's voice tightened. You're being too soft. You need to speak up. The next day, hungry, I opened the fridge and took out a small piece of cheese. Janelle suddenly came in from the living room, eating again. She slammed the kitchen door right in front of me. The bang startled the whole house. Adrian came out from the office. What's going on? Janelle replied calmly. Nothing. I was just tidying up. Mom came in suddenly. I stepped back to the hallway, the piece of cheese still in my hand, untouched. I slipped it into the pocket of my nightgown, crawled under the blanket, and pretended to sleep. The kids came out. Ellie leaned close and whispered, Grandma, was the cheese good? I patted her head and murmured, secret, don't tell your mom. Ben giggled and slipped a small peanut candy into my hand. Eddie, Grandma, hide this. I smiled and tucked it into my pocket, though my heart felt heavy. That night, I overheard Janelle whispering on the phone in the kitchen. She just won't die. When will that old woman learn her place? Her voice was ice. I lay facing the wall, clutching the candy Ben gave me, fighting back tears. Monday morning, I got up early as usual, around 5, and tiptoed to the guest bathroom to brush my teeth. The kids, Ellie and Ben were still asleep. As I stepped out, I saw Janelle wiping the door handle with alcohol, the rag making harsh scraping sounds. She looked at me without a word, but her eyes told me to move. I quietly turned back to the hallway and sat down on my folding bed. Adrian walked out of the bedroom, scratching his head, still half asleep. Morning already, Mom. Janelle immediately took his phone. I've added your meeting to the calendar. Oh, and your mom's up again. Tell her to be careful with the cold air. Her voice hovered between concern and command. Adrian nodded and gave me a faint smile. You should rest a little, Mom. It's chilly. I nodded, saying nothing. I sat on the folding bed, knees pulled up, listening to the doors to the kids' room and Adrian and Janelle's room close one after the other. The house slowly quieted, the only sound coming from the soft hum of the dishwasher in the kitchen. I stared out the glass balcony door, cold air still slipping through the crack. Around 9 a.m., feeling lightheaded with hunger, I took a small loaf of bread from my own bag, planning to eat a little to settle my stomach. The dizziness had been hitting earlier these days. I'd just taken 2 bites when Janelle suddenly pushed the door open, laptop in hand. Mom, that's Ellie's whole grain bread. Do you know I have to special order that? I froze and quickly set the bread down on a plate. I'm sorry, I didn't know. She picked up the phone, turned her back, and called out to Adrian. Your mom's eating the kids' food. I told you already. I heard Adrian's voice, vague and distant. Just let it go. If Mom's hungry, let her eat. Janelle turned back to me, smirking. He said let it go, but next time, please ask me first. I nodded, stood up, and walked around the hallway to avoid her. I quietly went into the kitchen to boil some water in the electric kettle. It clicked softly when it finished. Janelle, hearing it from the living room, came right in. Don't mess around and burn the kitchen down. That stovetop was expensive. I quickly turned off the kettle and muttered, I was being careful. She waved a hand and walked away, leaving me standing there, with a cup I never got to fill. That evening, I ate late because I had to clean the dishes after dinner. Janelle poured some soup into a plastic orange bowl for me. It was ice cold. As I sat down to eat, she turned on the vacuum cleaner right by my feet, the cord dragging across my face. I stepped back, almost slipping on the outlet on the floor. Janelle didn't apologize, she just called into Adrian's room. The floor's disgusting. Someone dropped crumbs all over. Adrian came out and looked at me. Are you okay, Mom? I shook my head. I'm fine, don't worry. He frowned at Janelle, but said nothing and went back into the room. I kept eating, forcing down spoonfuls of cold soup. The next afternoon, I went out to the balcony to bring in the laundry. Suddenly, everything went dark, my head spinning. I grabbed the railing, breathing hard, trying not to fall. Ellie ran out, yelling, Grandma, what's wrong? Janelle rushed over. Oh my God, Mom, what are you doing out here in this heat? I gasped. I just wanted to get the clothes. She helped me into a chair and called Adrian. He came home right away, pale-faced. Mom, are you okay? He called Dr. Clayton. The doctor took my blood pressure and asked, have you been eating properly? Regular meals? I nodded, but Janelle cut in. She snacks on random stuff. Dr. P looked at her, his voice firm. She needs full meals. Older people crash fast when their blood sugar drops. After the doctor left, Janelle said quietly to Adrian, your mom should really stay in bed. She keeps wandering around and ends up fainting. Adrian turned to me. Don't push yourself, Mom. You're not strong anymore. I nodded, but inside I wanted to scream. I'm not pushing. I just want to live like a person. That night, I pulled out the small TV, planning to watch the news. Janelle walked in, looked at me, and said, WIF's week today. Don't open YouTube, okay? I turned it off, packed it back into the bag, and went to wash my face. Her words kept replaying in my head, but I didn't want to cause trouble. Later that night, I heard Janelle on the phone in the living room, complaining, I don't know what to do anymore. If she keeps living like this, I'm gonna lose my mind. Her mother's voice, Virginia, came through. Don't go soft. Janelle, I told you, don't let that woman think she's family. I lay facing the wall, pillow soaked. The kids were fast asleep, unaware. I clutched the blanket, trying to sleep, but all I could hear was the wind slicing through the crack in the balcony door. Adrian's birthday was coming up. I overheard Janelle telling him in the kitchen, why don't we book that Italian place downtown? Then your mom won't have to be there. Her voice was gentle, but I knew what she meant. She wanted me out of sight. Adrian hesitated. I'd rather have it at home. Just close co-workers. Mom can join too. I stood in the hallway, hearing every word. For a moment, my heart warmed. He hadn't forgotten me. That evening, Adrian came home with a bag full of balloons and tinsel. He whistled as he hung them up on the living room wall. Cheerful. Mom, there's gonna be a big crowd at my birthday tomorrow. You have to come out and hang with everyone, okay? Janelle stood nearby, arms crossed, clearly annoyed but said nothing. She just paced around, checking the food. On the day of the party, I wore the ivory sweater Adrian gave me 5 years ago. It was a little worn, but I liked it because he picked it out for me. When Janelle saw me, she leaned in and said softly, "Could you wear something else? That sweater's outdated." I nodded, but didn't change. I just straightened it and stepped into the hallway. I was about to help in the kitchen, slicing fruit. I had a knife and an apple in hand. Janelle spotted me and walked over right away. "Mom, just take a break. Guests are about to arrive. I've got it." Her voice was cold as she gently pushed me back toward the hallway. I stepped aside, standing quietly by the shoe rack. Adrian was busy washing glasses and didn't notice. Ellie ran up, tugged my hand, and whispered, "Grandma, I'll come get you when it's time to sing happy birthday." "Okay." I stroked her hair and nodded. "All right, I'll wait for you." The house filled with guests, mostly Adrian's coworkers. Laughter echoed, and the smell of baked goods drifted from the kitchen. I sat tucked behind a potted plant in the corner of the living room, too shy to get anything to eat. Wade, Adrian's best friend, looked around and called out, "Where's your mom, Adrian?" Janelle, standing nearby, quickly cut in. "She's not feeling well, resting in the back." Her voice was calm, like she wanted to hide the fact that I was there at all. Adrian stopped talking, glanced around, and walked toward the hallway. When he saw me curled up on the folding bed, he reached for my hand. "Mom, come on, I want to introduce you to everyone." I shook my head. "It's okay, sweetheart. I'm fine right here." But he didn't let go. "No, Mom, you have to come. You're the most important person here today." He led me into the middle of the living room, stood beside me, and said loud enough for all to hear, "Everyone, this is my mom, the best cook in the world, and the one who raised me, all by herself." His friends clapped, some even whistled. I gave a nervous smile, face burning. Janelle stood behind us, her face tight, gripping her glass hard. Wade stepped up and shook my hand. "I've heard you make the best barbecue in town. When do I get to try it?" I smiled, murmuring, "Whenever you're free, come over." Feeling a bit awkward, I offered, "How about I sing an old American folk song to celebrate my son's birthday?" Adrian nodded right away. "Yes, sing, Mom. I haven't heard you in so long." I cleared my throat and sang Cielito Lindo, the song my mother used to sing to me. The room quieted down. A few people clapped along. Ellie and Ben clapped the loudest, eyes shining. "Grandma, that was beautiful." When I finished, the room burst into applause. I bowed my head, thanked them, then stepped back into the corner. Suddenly, Janelle slipped into the kitchen. A few minutes later, I heard a glass shatter. Adrian started to move, but I grabbed his arm. "Let her be, honey." He nodded, though his eyes stayed worried. I went back to my seat and pretended nothing had happened. A few minutes later, I saw my suitcase pushed out near the front door. Janelle stepped out, not looking at anyone, and muttered, "Since you like being out so much, why don't you just stay out there?" Her voice was low, but sharp as a blade. Adrian saw it, and for the first time, he raised his voice. "Janelle, what are you doing?" Janelle crossed her arms and said flatly, "I'm clearing space for guests to come and go. Don't make it a big deal." Her tone was calm, but her eyes shot daggers at me. Wade, standing nearby, had seen the whole thing. He came up to Adrian and whispered, "I'm being honest. You need to do something. Your mom's being treated like a maid." Adrian looked at me, then at Janelle, but didn't say a word. He just turned back to entertain the guests. I quietly went to the hallway and rolled my suitcase back to where it was. Ben ran over and hugged me from behind. "Grandma, I love you. Don't go anywhere, okay?" I patted his head. "I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart. Don't worry." Ellie ran up too, clutching my arm, her eyes red. I smiled, but my heart was heavy. After the guests left, Adrian washed dishes alone in the kitchen. Janelle sat silently in the bedroom with the door shut. I came in to help Adrian, picking up a towel to dry the glasses. He looked at me and said softly, "Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't know it had gotten this bad. I put the glass down and said, "It's okay, son. My grandkids are here. I'll stay for them. But I know what I have to do now." Adrian nodded, but his eyes were full of sadness. I woke up at dawn, just as the first light crept through the glass crack in the hallway. The fan wind, like usual, but I didn't stay in bed. I sat up and quietly folded each shirt, each pair of pants, each worn-out sock into a cloth bag. My right hand shook, so I had to use both hands to keep things neat. The fabric rustled softly. I tried to be quiet, afraid of waking the kids. Yesterday was Adrian's birthday, but seeing my luggage pushed to the door made one thing clear. I couldn't stay here anymore. In the kitchen, Janelle was already washing dishes. The clinking of plates echoed in the early silence. I zipped up my bag, sharp, final. Janelle paused, glanced down the hallway at me, then went back to scrubbing. Louder this time, I pulled out my phone and called Edna, my old friend from the factory. "Edna, I'm tired. Can I stay with you for a few days?" Her voice came through, clear and warm. "Dolores, what are you talking about? My door's always open to you. Grab your things and come over. Don't wait another second." I lifted the cloth bag and rolled my suitcase toward the front door, my steps slow, my right hand too weak to carry much. Ben, hearing the noise, ran out from the bedroom in his wrinkled pajamas. "Grandma, where are you going? Please don't go." He clung to my leg, eyes welling up. I knelt down, stroked his hair, and tried to steady my voice. "I'm just taking a little break. Ben, I'll come back and play with you, okay?" Ellie peeked out from the bedroom, holding her doll tight. "Grandma, I want you to stay here with us." I smiled, patted her head. "I'm only going for a bit, honey. I'll video call you both, all right?" Janelle stepped out from the living room, arms crossed. "Let her go, Ben. If she wants to leave, no one can stop her." Her voice was cold, like she couldn't wait to be rid of me. Adrian, startled by the noise, walked out of the bedroom, his hair messy, eyes red from sleeping late. "Mom, where are you going? What's going on?" I looked at him and shook my head. "I'm just leaving, Adrian." He grabbed my hand, alarmed. "Mom, please, tell me what's really happening. Why are you suddenly leaving?" I didn't have a chance to answer. Janelle cut in, her voice sharp. "Why are you even asking? If your mom wants to go, let her. No one's forcing her to stay here." Adrian turned to her, tension rising in his voice. "Janelle, what are you saying? She lives here with us. Don't you see that?" Janelle folded her arms, stared out the window. "Then ask your mom." "How would I know?" She walked back into the bedroom and slammed the door. The loud bang rattled the frame. Ben jumped, clutching my leg tighter. "Grandma, why's mommy mad?" I stroked his head gently and whispered, "It's okay, honey. Sometimes grown-ups argue. That's all." I looked at Adrian, my voice steady but quiet. "Son, I'm leaving so things can calm down. You've got your wife, your kids. I don't want anyone to feel stuck because of me." Adrian shook his head and held onto my hand. "Mom, I don't want you to go. This is your home too." I gave him a small, tired smile and patted his shoulder. "Don't worry, I know you love me, but I need somewhere peaceful, just for a while." I rolled my suitcase toward the front door and called a cab. The driver opened the trunk, and I tried to lift the suitcase in, even though my right hand was shaking so badly I almost dropped it. As the car pulled away, I looked in the rearview mirror. Ellie stood behind the glass door, waving softly, her face red, tears streaming down. Ben clung to her, his own eyes filling up. I turned away, gripping the handle of my cloth bag, doing everything I could not to cry. The taxi stopped in front of Edna's place, a small one-story house in the Texas suburbs. Walls painted a soft yellow, old ceramic tiles lining the porch. RMR, Edna's older sister, opened the door wearing a floral blouse, grinning. "Dolores, there you are. Come on in. I just made a fresh pot of tea." I rolled my suitcase in and set it down in the corner of the living room. The smell of baked corn cake drifted from the kitchen, warm and sweet, and for a moment, it took me back to the days I used to cook for Adrian. Edna came out carrying a tray of cake. "You look exhausted, Dolores. Sit down, have a piece of my corn cake. This place isn't big, but it's peaceful. Make yourself at home." I sat on the old wooden chair as mRNA handed me a cup of tea. "Here, drink this." I picked those leaves from the backyard myself. "Smells great, right?" I wrapped my hands around the cup. The warmth spread through my palms. Edna sat across from me, eyes searching. "What happened? Why'd you leave your son's place to come here?" Tell me. I shook my head. I just didn't feel like I belonged there. Janelle, she didn't want me around. Myrna frowned. What kind of daughter-in-law is that? You raised Adrian alone, helped pay for that house, and now they treat you like you don't matter. I nodded slightly and took a sip of tea. I didn't want to fight. I left so the kids wouldn't feel torn. Edna set down the tray, her voice firm. Dolores, you're too kind. But listen, you're with us now. Things will feel lighter. No one here is gonna spray alcohol on the table or snap at you. mRNA laughed loudly. Exactly. Tomorrow I'm taking you to the market. We'll get some corn and make tamales, real ones. Remember how to wrap them? I smiled. Of course I do. How could I forget? Edna showed me the small room next to the garden. You'll sleep here. It's got a window that looks out at the bougainvillea. I wheeled my suitcase in and laid out the bedsheet on the simple wooden bed. The room had just a small desk and an old lamp. I lay down, listening to birdsong outside the window. Rushed footsteps. No cold wind through cracked glass. No vacuum roaring in the background. That night, for the first time in months, I slept, deep and without bracing myself. I woke up as the first light of day slipped through the window, casting a warm glow on the bright red bougainvillea bushes in the little garden outside. Birds were chirping, soft, melodic, not like the harsh hum of the fan at Adrian's house. I opened the door and stepped out into the yard, breathing in the fresh morning air. The old wooden chair by the trellis was still damp with morning dew. mRNA was already sitting there, reading a medical magazine, her glasses low on her nose. She looked up and smiled. Up early, Dolores. Sit down. The breeze feels nice. I pulled a chair beside her and sat down. Myrna closed her magazine and looked at me. I was a nurse, you know. Met plenty of people like you. Kids grow up, then push their parents to the edge. Move them down to the bottom of the list. Don't let that break you. Hear me. I nodded and said, I know mRNA. Sometimes I want peace, not arguments. Myrna patted my shoulder. Then stay here with us. No one's gonna yell at you for holding a spoon wrong or taking a bite of cake. Later, I walked into the kitchen and found Edna sorting water spinach for lunch. I sat down beside her and joined in. My right hand still trembled, so a few leaves slipped onto the table. Edna glanced over and smiled. Take your time, Dolores. Nobody's rushing you here. You want to go slow? Go slow. You want to take a break? Take one. I gave her a faint smile. Thanks, Edna. It's been a long time since I did anything without someone staring me down. Edna winked. Here, you're a guest of honor. After this, we'll make You still remember how to roll them? I nodded. Of course. Back in the day, I could roll faster than you. We both burst out laughing, our voices echoing through the cozy kitchen. That afternoon, my phone rang. It was Adrian. His voice was quiet. Mom, are you okay? I've been worried. Janelle, she said she didn't mean to be harsh with you. Yesterday, I held the phone and sat down on the patio chair. I'm okay, son. Just take care of Ellie and Ben. Don't worry about me. He hesitated. Mom, I want you to come home. I don't want you staying anywhere else. I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. Adrian, I need some time. I'm at Edna's, and it's peaceful here. Just focus on your family. He let out a long sigh. I'm sorry, Mom. I'll talk to Janelle, I replied. Don't push things. I'm really okay. I hung up and looked out at the bougainvillea, doing my best to steady my voice. That evening, Edna pulled an old radio out from the cabinet and played a classic American bolero. The soft, rolling guitar filled the house, bringing back memories of nights I used to sit with my mother and listen to music. Edna smiled. Been a while since you heard these, huh? Come on, help me make corn cakes. We spread dough on the table, kneading and pressing them on the cast iron pan. mRNA brought out a plate of homemade salsa. Try this, Dolores. I added extra jalapenos. It'll set your mouth on fire. I dipped a piece of cake, took a bite, and laughed. It's spicy. All right, mRNA. You haven't lost your touch. Edna cut in. Please, back in the day, I made better salsa than her. All three of us laughed loud and long, the warmth of the moment filling the little house, so different from the tense dinners at Adrian's. 3 days later, Patty called, her voice excited. Dolores, I heard you moved out of Adrian's place. Good for you. There's a bakery over here doing discounts. Tomorrow, I'll swing by, take you out for churros. Sound good? I laughed and said, sounds perfect. Patty, I'll be ready. She chuckled. Great. I'll bring some coffee too. We'll sit and swap stories like we did back in the day. I nodded and hung up, feeling lighter than I had in a long time. While I was watering the plants in the garden, my phone vibrated. Ellie was calling on video. Her face was tear-streaked, voice barely a whisper. Grandma, Mommy cries a lot. I miss you. Ben popped into the frame, his hair messy. Grandma, come back. I hate Mom 'cause she yells at you. I brushed my fingers over the screen, as if I could reach out and touch them. I miss you both so much too. But don't be mad at your mom. She's just tired and stressed. I'll call you often, okay? Ellie nodded, eyes brimming. Okay, but you have to call. Ben, shouted Grandma. I'm saving candy for you. Next time you come, I'll give it to you. I laughed. All right, I promise, I'll come back and get Ben's candy. Right after, Adrian texted me. He sent a photo of the kids' drawing. A sweet sketch of me, standing in a garden, watering flowers. I took the image to the little print shop near Edna's and had it printed, then taped it neatly to the wall of my room. Looking at it made me smile, thinking of those two. One afternoon, my phone rang. Janelle. For the first time, her voice wasn't cold. Mom, I'm sorry. I was jealous. Adrian always says your cooking is better than mine. I stayed quiet for a few seconds, then said, Janelle, I'm not mad at you, but I'm not coming back. Not right now. I need a space of my own. She hesitated. I understand. I want you to know, I regret what I did. I nodded, even though she couldn't see. I know. Just take good care of the kids. That's all I want. I ended the call, sat on the garden chair, and watched the bougainvillea flutter in the wind. That night, I baked with Edna and Myrna. Edna looked at me and said, Dolores, you're standing straighter than you used to. Back at Adrian's, even your voice sounded like it was trying to hide. I smiled, holding a piece of cornbread. Yeah, I'm learning how to live for myself again. mRNA nodded. Good. Here, you do whatever you want. No one complains. Edna jumped in. Tomorrow, let's go to the market, get some meat and make tacos. Sound good? I nodded. Tacos are my thing. I'll show you too how it's really done. That night, lying in bed, I listened to the crickets outside the window. Life wasn't always easy, but like my grandmother used to say, Dolores, people are like cactus. They stand tall even without water. Give them a little good soil, and they'll bloom. This little house, with Edna and mRNA, felt like that good soil I needed. One bright morning, I was outside watering a few small cactus pots when the doorbell rang. Edna wiped her hands on her apron and went to open it. Standing on the porch was Virginia, Janelle's mother, dressed in a shiny green silk dress, heels tapping sharply against the steps. Her smile was thin, her eyes sharp. Janelle stood behind her, eyes red and puffy, her hair tied loosely, nothing like her usual polished self. Edna folded her arms and looked Virginia up and down. Come in, no point standing out there like a statue. mRNA, sitting in the living room, pulled out a chair and said bluntly, if you've got something to say, sit down. No need for the drama. Virginia stepped inside stiffly and sat down on the wooden chair. I came here to talk like adults, not to argue. mRNA raised an eyebrow. Like adults? Fine, then talk. We're listening. Janelle stood behind her mother, eyes on me, voice soft. Mom, I came to say sorry. I don't have any excuse for what I did. I set the watering can down and looked at her, saying nothing. Virginia cut in sharply, her voice shrill. Dolores, you abandoned your son, left his house, threw everything into chaos. I've never seen someone your age just walk out like that. Edna, sipping from an old porcelain teacup, set it down gently and spoke slowly. Mrs. Virginia, no one leaves their home for fun. There's always a reason, right? Do you really think Dolores just decided to walk away from her grandchildren for no reason? Mrs. Virginia scoffed. Whatever the reason, I don't care. Your son needed you, and you chose to run off and stay with your friends. I turned to Janelle and asked directly, Janelle, do you truly want to apologize, or did your mother force you to come? Janelle bowed her head, voice tight with emotion. I made her come with me, Mom. No one forced me. I know I was wrong. I want to make it right. Mrs. Virginia cut in, voice sharp. Janelle, you don't have to humiliate yourself like this. I told you, be strong. Don't let anyone look down on you. mRNA pointed straight at Mrs. Virginia, no hesitation in her voice. Your daughter treated her mother-in-law like a servant, made her sleep in the hallway, accused her of stealing food from the kids, and now you show up here to shift the blame. Mrs. Virginia flushed red and snapped. We teach our children to be strong, not to get crushed like your generation, always just taking whatever life throws at them. Edna slammed her teacup down with force. Our generation knew how to respect the ones who broke their backs raising children, Mrs. Virginia. That's not weakness, that's human decency. Try sleeping in a hallway and getting scolded every day by your daughter-in-law. See how strong you feel. Mrs. Virginia stood abruptly, silk dress rustling. I don't need to sit here and listen to this. Janelle, we're leaving. But Janelle didn't move. She kept her eyes on me, and then, suddenly, she dropped to her knees on the floor. Mom, please forgive me. I'm scared. Scared I'll turn out like my grandma. Hated, pushed away. I was wrong. I know I was. I stood and helped her up, speaking gently. Janelle, no one is hated just because. It's about how we live, how we treat each other. Stand up. Don't kneel. Mrs. Virginia stepped forward to pull Janelle's arm. You don't have to beg. I told you, you did nothing wrong. Edna stood too, pointing toward the door. Mrs. Virginia, think whatever you want, but in this house, we don't entertain people like you. If you want to go, go. Just don't cause a scene. Mrs. Virginia sneered. Fine, I'm leaving. Janelle, come with me. But Janelle shook her head. Mom, I want to stay. I need to talk with Mom Dolores. Mrs. Virginia turned sharply and walked out, heels clacking hard across the floor. Janelle stayed for dinner. I went into the kitchen, took out some eggs and onions, and made Adrian's childhood favorite, fried eggs with caramelized onions. The smell of browning onions filled the house. Edna grinned. Dolores, if you make this, the rest of us don't stand a chance. Smells amazing, mRNA chimed in. HMPH. Let me make some salsa to go with it, or she's going to start bragging again. I laughed and set the plate on the table. Janelle ate slowly, then said softly, Mom, this tastes like our old home, back when Adrian was little. I nodded. Yeah, he used to eat this every night, always asked for seconds. Edna looked over at Janelle and asked, So, kid, do you really want to start over with your mother-in-law, or are you just saying that to sound good? Janelle bowed her head. Aunt Edna, I mean it. I've made a lot of mistakes. I want to fix them. RMA gave a short snort. Good, but fixing it doesn't mean just saying sorry. You have to do something about it. You get that? Janelle nodded. Yes, ma'am, I get it. I'll try, because of Adrian, and for the kids. Before she left, Janelle handed me a small gift bag. Inside was a hand-knit wool scarf, loose in some spots, but made with care. She said, I made this for you. It's not perfect, but I want you to have it. I took it and nodded. Thank you. Janelle looked at me, eyes red. I'll try, Mom. I'll try to show you that I can change. I didn't say anything, just nodded again and walked her to the door. That night, I sat in the small room and opened my old notebook, writing a few lines. An apology doesn't fix everything right away, but it's like a new moon, small, yet bright enough to see the path ahead. I closed the notebook and looked at the drawing Ellie and Ben made, still taped to the wall. Like my grandfather used to say, Dolores, family is like a pot of mole. You have to stir it patiently and steadily if you want it to turn out rich and deep. I thought, maybe Janelle was learning how to stir her own pot of mole. Saturday morning, I was out in Edna's garden, trimming fresh mint leaves, when my phone buzzed hard in my pocket. Adrian's name lit up on the screen. I picked up. His voice was rushed. Mom, Ellie's got a really high fever. She's burning up. She keeps crying, asking for you. Janelle can't calm her down. Can you come? I set the scissors down. I'm up. Coming right now. Just wait for me. I ran inside. Edna, I have to go. Ellie's sick. Edna nodded. Go. Dolores. Call me if you need anything. I took a cab and was standing in front of Adrian's house within 20 minutes. As soon as the door opened, Ben ran out, pale-faced, clinging to me, crying hard. Grandma, Ellie's not eating, not talking. I'm scared. I stroked his hair, keeping my voice calm. I'm here now, Ben. Don't worry. I'll take care of her, okay? Ben nodded and gripped my hand, pulling me inside. Janelle was sitting beside Ellie's bed, her hair messy, eyes shadowed. She held a damp towel to Ellie's forehead, voice trembling. I don't know what else to do, Mom. The doctor said we have to wait for the fever to go down, but she keeps crying, keeps asking for you. I nodded and walked over to the bed. Ellie was flushed red, her eyes barely open, forehead glistening with sweat. I bent down, stroked her cheek, and whispered, "Grandma's here, Ellie. Don't be scared." She opened her eyes, tried to smile. Her voice was faint. "Grandma, can you make porridge? I want the one you cooked." I smoothed her hair. "Of course I'll make it now. Just rest, and I'll bring it in." Ellie gave a tiny nod, eyes closing. Again, her small hand wrapped around mine. I went into the kitchen, took rice, and toasted it in the cast iron pan until fragrant. Then I finally chopped carrots and ginger. Janelle stood in the kitchen doorway, watching me. She asked, "Mom, can I help with anything? I can chop the carrots." I shook my head, rolled up my sleeves. "Let me handle it. I've made this dish 100 times. Janelle nodded and stood quietly, hands clenched. When the porridge was ready, the scent of ginger filled the kitchen. I poured it into a bowl, added a bit of chopped green onion, and brought it to the bedroom. Adrian had just come home and was standing by the bed, face tight with worry. "Mom, how is she?" I set the bowl down on the table. "She's a little better. Let me feed her." Janelle stepped aside to make room. I sat beside Ellie and spit the porridge into her mouth, one bite at a time. She ate slowly, but after a few spoonfuls, she smiled. "Grandma, this is so good. I feel a little better." I brushed her hair gently. "Finish this bowl, and you'll feel a lot better. I promise." Ellie nodded, then drifted into sleep, her head resting against my hand. That afternoon, we all sat around the dinner table. Janelle brought out a plate of tortillas, glanced at me, and said quietly, "Mom, today I realized, it only feels like home when you're here." I didn't respond, just nodded and scooped more porridge into Ben's bowl. Adrian placed his hand gently over mine, his voice full of regret. "Mom, thank you. I don't know what I would have done without you." I gave a faint smile. "It's all right, son. I did it for Ellie, for the kids." Ben snuggled under my arm, giggling. "Grandma, Mom said you're staying forever. I want your porridge every day." Janelle blushed and looked at him. "Ben, don't say that. I only meant Grandma's staying to visit for a little while." I looked at Janelle, then turned to Ben. "Grandma will visit often, okay? But Grandma has her own house now." Ben pouted. "But your house is too far. I want you to live here." That evening, I was washing dishes in the kitchen when Janelle walked up and stood beside me, her voice soft. "Mom, I know I've done a lot wrong. It's not that you did anything bad, it's me. I was scared you were better than me, scared Adrian and the kids would love you more." I set the dish down, wiped my hands on the towel, and looked at her. "Janelle, I'm not here to compete with anyone. I just want a decent place to live, where I'm not treated like a burden." She lowered her head, mumbling, "I get it, Mom. I'll try to change. Can you believe me this time?" I nodded. "I've seen it, Janelle. But real change isn't something you say, it's something you do." Adrian walked by, having heard it all, and paused. "Mom, what if you came back and stayed with us, just for a while, so Janelle and I can figure things out?" I looked up at him. "I have a home now, Adrian. I'll come when the kids need me, like today. But I can't go back to living in a hallway." Adrian nodded, his eyes heavy. "Understand, Mom. I just want you to know, I always want you here." I patted his shoulder. "I know, son, and I'm not angry at anyone." When I was getting ready to leave, Janelle walked me to the door and asked, "Mom, can I stop by Aunt Edna's tomorrow with some food for you?" I nodded. "Of course. Bring it over. I'll cook something for everyone." Janelle gave a small smile. "I want to learn how to make your porridge. That way, if Ellie or Ben wants it, I can do it too." I nodded again. "All right, I'll teach you." When I got back to Edna's house, I stepped into the yard and saw mRNA watering the plants. She grinned. "Well, Dolores, you saved your granddaughter, huh? You really are super grandma." I laughed. It was just porridge, MRA, but seeing the kids feeling better made me feel better too. Edna came out of the house. "You're back. Tell us everything. How's Adrian's place?" I sat down and told them about Ellie, about Janelle. Warna nodded thoughtfully. "Good. Let Janelle learn how to be a real person. Keep being patient. Dolores' family's like a pot of pozole. You gotta simmer it long for the flavor to come through." I smiled, thinking of what my grandmother used to say. "In this life, you don't need everyone to love you. You just need to hold on. And eventually, everything finds its place." 1 week after Ellie got better, I was sitting in Ed's yard, watering the little cactus pots, when Adrian showed up at the gate. He wore a light blue shirt and held a folder in one hand. He walked in with a soft smile. Mom, I've got something to show you. I wiped my hands on my apron and stood up. What is it? Some kind of paperwork. Adrian handed me a copy of a deed. I'd just put down a deposit on a small house nearby. The deed is in your name. I stood there, stunned, holding the paper, hardly able to believe it. Are you serious? This house, it's for me. Adrian nodded and placed a hand on my shoulder. Yes, Mom. I have what I have today because you raised me on your own. This is how I'm saying thank you. I shook my head and pushed the papers back toward him. Adrian, I don't need a house. I'm fine staying here with Edna. But he held my hand, his voice steady. Mom, I want you to have a place of your own, not just a room in someone else's house. You deserve that. I stayed silent, then nodded and hugged him. Thank you, son. I don't know what else to say. Adrian smiled. Start packing. Next week I'll take you to see it. That afternoon, Patty came rushing over to Edna's house the moment she heard a warm bag of churros swinging in her hand. Dolores, I heard Adrian bought you a house. I told you, kindness always pays off in the end. I laughed and invited her in. Yeah, Patty, I didn't expect it either. He's really grown up. Patty took a bite of churro and winked. You raised him right. Now he's returning the favor, just like he should. I'll come by tomorrow to help you pack. How about that? I nodded. Deal. You show up. I'll make carne asada. Patty clapped her hands. Say no more. I'll bring the beer. Over the weekend, Adrian brought Ellie and Ben over. They ran into the yard and threw their arms around me. Ellie shouted, Grandma, I missed you so much. Ben chimed in. I brought peanut candy for you, Grandma. Janelle followed behind them, carrying a bag of fruit and a tray of homemade flan. Her voice was gentle. Mom, I brought a little something. Do you like flan? I nodded and smiled. Of course I do. Come in, I'll make some lemonade. There was no trace of her old bitterness. She stepped into the house and set the bag down on the table. Edna came out from the kitchen, smiling at the scene. Well, looks like the whole crew's here. Dolores, grab a few more chairs. Your family's finally coming together. I pulled over to wooden chairs and said, Yeah, Edna, it's been a long time since the house felt this full. Janelle turned to me and spoke quietly. Thank you for letting us come, Mom. I want to make things better. I patted her hand. You're on the right track. I can see that you're trying. Janelle asked to use the kitchen and pulled out carrots and onions. Mom, I'm cooking tonight. Can you help me season the soup? I stood beside her, watching her chop vegetables. Just a pinch of salt, not too much. Don't cover up the ginger. That's what brings out the aroma. Janelle nodded carefully. Yes, Mom. I want to learn your way, so Ellie and Ben will like it too. I smiled. Good. You keep learning. I'll teach you everything. Adrian used to love this soup. Ellie overheard and jumped in. I love your soup too, Grandma. Mom, hurry and learn it. Janelle laughed, rubbing Ellie's head. I'm learning, sweetie. Be patient with me. Adrian hung a new TV on the living room wall. Ben grabbed the remote, ran to my side, and whispered, Grandma, what movie do you like? I'll play it for you. I smiled and stroked his hair. Put on a cartoon, Grandma. Watch it with you, Ben shouted. Yeah, superheroes. You're watching it with me. Adrian looked over, laughing. Mom, with you around, Ben forgets I even exist. I winked. Well, you're the dad, I'm the grandma. Sounds about right. One afternoon, Mr. Harold dropped by with a small bottle of tequila. Dolores, I came to celebrate. You finally stopped being a ghost in someone else's house. I laughed and welcomed him in. Come sit, Harold. You're drinking tequila. You need something spicy to go with it. I'll make some tacos. Harold clapped. Your tacos. I'd never say no. I'm staying right here. mRNA overheard and called out, Ha! If Dolores is making tacos, Harold better not expect to eat them all. I called dibs. The whole house erupted in laughter. The air was warm and full of life. I hosted a family meal and invited mRNA, Edna, and Patty. mRNA arrived early to help me wrap tamales. Janelle stood beside us, curious. Mom, how do you cook the fillings so the tamales turn out this soft? I explained. You saute the meat with bell peppers and add a little cumin, just enough, not too much, or it'll overpower the corn. Janelle nodded, writing it down carefully. Got it, Mom. I'll try making them for Adrian next time. Edna turned on some bolero music. The gentle guitar played through the kitchen. No one brought up the past. During dinner, Adrian raised his glass of tequila and looked around the table. Mom, I've never said this in front of everyone, but you're the reason I never gave up. Thank you. I nodded, smiling. It's all right, son. I just did what I had to do. Janelle stood up and handed me a small wooden box. Mom, I found this in the things you left behind. It's your wedding photo with Dad. I opened the box and saw the old photo. My hand trembled. Janelle, thank you. I thought I'd lost it. Janelle lowered her head. I'm sorry, Mom, for not appreciating you before. That night, after everyone had gone, I sat alone on the front steps, looking up at the star-filled Texas sky. I thought of what my grandmother used to say. Dolores, family is like a cactus, rough on the outside, but always carrying water inside to keep each other alive. I nodded to myself, feeling calm, no longer needing to prove anything. I sat in the backyard of my new home, holding a glass of lukewarm tea, condensation clinging to the rim. Sunday sunlight filtered through the bougainvillea vines, casting dappled shadows across the ground. Ellie sat beside me, absorbed in her picture book, staring at a cat drawing. Ben lay sprawled in the grass, waving a colored pencil as he filled in a bright superhero. In the yard, Adrian pushed the lawnmower, its steady hum blending with the sound of birdsong. Janelle came out of the kitchen carrying a plate of warm pastries, the smell of butter rich in the air. She set the plate on the wooden table and smiled brightly. Mom, I tried baking with French butter, just like you taught me. Try one and tell me if I got it right. I picked one up, took a bite, and nodded. Delicious. Janelle, you're getting so good, I might need lessons from you next. Janelle blushed and waved me off. No way, Mom. I'm just copying you. You're still the best cook in the house. Ellie looked up and chimed in. Grandma, Mommy's pastry is good, but I still like your tamales more. Ben stopped coloring and shouted, I can eat Mommy's too, but Grandma's food is the best. I laughed. All right, you two. No need to argue. Everything tastes better when we eat together. Janelle nodded, watching the kids. Exactly. It's always more fun when Grandma's here, right? Ellie and Ben said in unison. Yes. Mr. Leroy, our neighbor, walked over from next door, holding an old teapot. His voice rang out. Dolores, can I borrow this for a bit? We're out over at my place. He paused, taking in the scene. Everyone gathered around. He smiled. Wow, Dolores, you look like a different person now, like a cactus, in bloom, light and free. I handed him the teapot, smiling. Thanks, Leroy. Having my own place, having the grandkids around, it's a good feeling. Leroy winked. That's what I like to hear. Tomorrow I'll bring some fresh chilies. Make some of that salsa for me, will you? I nodded. Deal. But you better bring beer with those chilies, or I'm not making it. He laughed loudly, waving as he turned to go. You got it. I'll bring the beer, just make that salsa hot. His footsteps echoed on the stone path as he disappeared behind the fence. Later, Dr. Clayton stopped by for a checkup, carrying his blood pressure cuff. After he finished, he patted my shoulder. Dolores, your numbers are looking great. Way better than last time. Feeling good like this is half the cure. I smiled. Thank you, Dr. Popley, because I'm not sleeping in a cold hallway anymore. He nodded, glancing around the yard. This home is good for you. Make sure you're eating regularly. Don't let your blood sugar drop like before, okay? I nodded. Yes, I'm eating better now. No one's telling me I can't have seconds anymore. Janelle, standing nearby, turned red and spoke quietly. Mom, I'm sorry for how I treated you before. I waved her off. It's all right, Janelle. That's the past. What matters is how you're doing now. Dr. Clayton smiled. Harmony in the house. That's the best medicine of all. Dolores, keep it that way. I nodded and walked him to the gate. Adrian walked in from the yard, wiping sweat from his forehead, beaming. Mom, I got promoted. Starting next week, I'm officially team leader at the company. I set my glass of tea down and smiled. Good for you, son. Must be 'cause you're no longer stuck in the middle between me and your wife. Your mind's clearer now, isn't it? Adrian laughed. You nailed it, Mom. The house is peaceful now, and I really do work better. Janelle chimed in softly. It's because you're here, Mom. That's why things feel right. Thank you for not giving up on us. I patted her shoulder. It's all right, Janelle. I stayed for the kids. For you, too. Ellie overheard and ran up to hug me. Grandma, please stay with us forever. I stroked her hair. I'm right here, sweetie. Don't worry. That weekend, I taught Ellie and Ben how to make sopa de fideo, the noodle soup Adrian loved as a kid. I sautéed onions and tomatoes in the pan, the smell filling the kitchen. Ben stood nearby, curious. "Grandma, does Mom know how to make this? I think she burns food a lot." Janelle, standing close, burst out laughing. "Ben, I'm not that bad. I've just never made this before. It really is good. Mom, will you teach me?" I handed her the wooden spoon. "Sure. Start with the onions on low heat. Don't burn them. Then add tomatoes, a bit of salt." Janelle followed carefully. "Like this, Mom. I don't want to mess it up. It's Adrian's favorite." Ellie chimed in. "You can do it, Mom. Just like Grandma. I want this soup every day." I laughed. "Well, if your mom learns, you can have it whenever. I'll show her how to make it just right." Janelle smiled and nodded. "Thanks, Mom. I'll do my best." My phone buzzed. Virginia was calling. Her voice was softer this time, different than before. "Dolores, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. You taught Janelle something I never could, how to be a good mother." I held the phone and replied, "I just got through the days, Virginia." Janelle learned how to love her family on her own. She paused. "Yeah, I see that now. Thank you, Dolores, for giving her that chance." I hung up and returned to stirring the soup, the scent of caramelized onions drifting through the kitchen. One afternoon, I found my old walking cane, the one I used after the stroke. It was buried in the corner, covered in dust. I wiped it clean and stood it upright, a quiet sign that I was standing strong again. Adrian brought over a new family photo and handed it to me. "Mom, hang this in the living room. It's all of us." I held the picture, looking at all our smiling faces. "All right, but I'm picking a plain wooden frame, no gold trim. It's too much." Adrian grinned. "That's so you, Mom. Simple and perfect." Night fell. Ellie and Ben dragged me to the wooden bench outside and begged, "Grandma, tell us a story about when you raised Dad." I laughed. "Back then, I worked in a sewing factory all day, came home at night and made noodle soup for your dad. Some nights I was exhausted, but seeing him eat made me feel strong again." Ben shouted, "You're a superhero, Grandma. Dad says you were really tough." Ellie nodded. "I want to be like you, not afraid of anything." I stroked their heads. "Life isn't fair, but nobody can stop you from getting back up. As long as you keep standing, no one can keep you down." Looking at those two, I remembered what my grandmother used to say, "Dolores, family is like a pot of mole. Cook it slow, add love, and it'll turn out rich." I sipped my lukewarm tea and felt a deep calm, like the soft Texas moonlight shining above us. We tell this story based on real events. The names and places have been changed to protect the identity of the person involved. It is the story of a mother who sacrificed her entire life for her children and grandchildren, only to be despised, used, and abandoned in the end. But when she had nothing left to lose, she rose up. And this time, she lived for herself. We don't tell this to judge, but so that whoever is listening might stop and think, how many mothers are suffering in silence within their own homes? Now, I'm curious about you, the one listening to my story. What would you do if you were in my place? Have you ever experienced something similar? Let me know in the comments. In the meantime, I'll leave 2 other stories on the end screen that are favorites on our channel, and that will surely surprise you. Thank you for staying until the end.